I don't try to get into the mind of a beard because it's a scary place to be.
Inside the pocket of a clown.
Hello friends and welcome back to ReddX, your source for the freshest daily Reddit content anywhere on the internet. Promise, swearsies, it's just a fact and it's totally science. Go ahead, I implore you to look it up. Today we're jumping into r/TalesofNeckbeards. Yes, indeed, you know what it do. Anonymous Griper is back. The character consultancy. She works with all these beards online, helping them to write their stories, and there is just a wealth of good stuff that comes from her. We've been focusing mostly on the beard of 1,000 Irritations, and today, unfortunately, is his last story. I didn't even realize, but luckily there is another one-off story that she has that I decided to smash into this video, and then we could get everything all like nice and beefy the way that you guys like it, the way that I like it too, honestly. So we've got Brat Beard up first, and then the last entry for the beard of 1,000 Irritations, and I will probably smash all the TBOATI parts together in order to make like a nice big saga. There may be more parts to come because she is still working with this person, but we'll deal with that hurdle as it comes, I suppose. So without any further delay, let's go ahead and get some plugs and disclaimers out of the way, and then we will dive right in to some writer neckbeard cringe. Neckbeard customers! Working with Brat Beard. Hello again, readers. I am a specialist writing coach from Wales, and I've had a few neckbeards for customers, so I figured I'd share about them here. Oh, bless you for this. Just a wealth of delicious content to consume. Let's call this one guy Brat Beard. He had a thing for two young female characters from a French animated series. I don't know what you talk about, but if some of my viewers do, maybe a comment section, I'm gonna hold off from naming the two main characters by their actual names to protect the bearded, so I'll call them by something slightly different. The two characters in questions are Amy and Eve. He'd written a fanfic that he wanted me to edit, but first he wanted me to truly get the essence of what Amy was like, so that I knew what kind of characterization he was aiming for. I'd never heard of this animation until this point, so I said I'd look it up and get a sense of her from any media that I could find. When left to my own devices, I can get a handle on unfamiliar characters in about a half an hour, and I don't charge for the extra time I spend doing this research. He had told me that this wouldn't be good enough, and that it was imperative that I watch the series in the original French. Oh God, not one of these guys. Subs or dubs, bro. I barely speak pidgin French, and I don't have the fluency in it to really get the tone of the voice, not even with subtitled works. So I voiced my doubts about this, but he was adamant. He had a link to a folder of videos of the entire first series and wanted me to watch the whole thing to make sure I understood Amy's personality. God. Already, nope. Hard nope. GTFO. I wondered how long the runtime for that much content was, so I looked it up. 9.5 hours. So I told Brat Beard if he wanted me to watch it all, then I would have to charge, and I would do so at my base rate of £15 per hour. This would have cost him £142.5. He balked at that, and said that, actually, Amy only had major parts in 2 or 3 episodes. That's good information to include up front. So, I actually only needed to watch those episodes. I still charged him, but he was happy to pay the required amount, and I did attempt to watch them. The videos he linked me didn't even play for some reason. So after a bit of fruitless tinkering, I gave up and just found the equivalent episodes elsewhere in English. By the time I'd watched all 3 episodes, I thought I had a pretty good handle on Amy and prepared myself for a game of Spot the Difference. between her canon representation and the version that Bratbeard would show me. Fanfic! Amy was a brat. While I understood that canon, Amy could be quite childlike, but I hadn't gotten an impression of her as bratty. Bratbeard's depiction wasn't an accurate representation of brattiness either, especially not the way that Amy would be likely to do it. Let me explain further. In this story, she was upset from being forbidden from attending some kind of royal state visited by her father and had been left behind at home. She was bored, and in this story, she was also tired. None of that is going to bring out the best in anyone. But if someone was upset at feeling rejected, bored, and tired, then I'd expect them to go through a cycle. That cycle would be somewhat like the following. Expression of frustration or irritation at someone who isn't a deserving recipient due to compromised impulse control. Immediate regret for uncalled for treatment of that person. Attempts to either be quiet and say or do nothing else to attack that person, or maybe even to make it up to the person that they mistreated. Another expression of frustration or irritation at someone who doesn't deserve it. Rinse and repeat until they actually get some sleep, and either make peace with their feeling of rejection or get an apology from the rejecter. It is a common cycle, and most of us see it all over the place in real life on a regular basis. I think if you're going to present a character going through this cycle, then you should endeavor to make sure that your readers feel the character's regret and frustration at themselves just as much as their irritation. Otherwise, it's unrealistic. That's fair, perfectly balanced, as all things should be. Thank you, Thanos. Fanfic! Amy did not go around the whole cycle. Although she snapped at people and huffed and rolled her eyes multiple times, she was irritable and easily frustrated by the events of the story, but never tried to curtail herself or repair the relationships or the reputation that she was damaging. In fact, she was portrayed as feeling entitled to just treat everyone that way. It turned out that the story was a kinkfic. I probably could have discerned that much. And in it, Amy would upset the wrong person by being bratty and then get her comeuppance. It was a standard humble the haughty type fic. As such, it relied on misrepresenting both Amy and the tired/upset/irritable dynamic to work at all. If either she or the irritability cycle had been presented properly, then Amy's feelings and actions would have looked relatable. The reader would have been likely to sympathize, and that would destroy the setup for the kink that Bratbeard was going for in his fic. I specifically market myself as someone who helps people write good quality characterization. So at this point, I had a dilemma. Did Bratbeard want me to do what I market myself as doing, which would break his story, or just pretend that his characterization was fine and watch him churn out poor quality work and then possibly recommend me to other people who also like to write this kind of content? Developing your own livid hell. Really, that is what he wants, though, is just for you to say, oh yeah, it's great. But that's doing a disservice to him and to you. So I think brutal honesty is the way to go here. I decided that I didn't want any more work like this. And I'd rather put my effort into finding customers who genuinely wanted good characterization. So I decided to be honest with Bratbeard, on the slim hope that he would still find value in it. Spoiler alert, he wasn't too happy about it. Good, screw him. I got a couple of other issues here to note. In addition to Amy, there was also an elderly character in the story, someone who didn't fit the description of a scantily clad pretty young woman, but who featured enough in the story that the quality of her characterization would indeed impact the overall quality of the story. I recommended to Bratbeard that we look at her characterization too, and he told me that not everything had to be analyzed. It's a story, bro. Yes, it does. I'm not gonna say that I thought he only considered the young, sexy character worthy of proper analysis, and that he was prepared to ignore the old crone for being, well, old and cronish and unsexy, but I'm not gonna say that I didn't think that, and I thought that pretty loud. One more detail worth sharing here is about Bratbeard's idea of Amy's cultural background. Anyone familiar with the animation I'm talking about will know that Amy is a forest princess who lives in a tree. Okay? To me, that means she'd be comfortable with bugs. During a part of this story, Amy freaks out over a bug in her house. I really didn't think that it reflected the fine-tuning of Amy's characterization that he had insisted on back when he wanted me to watch the animation in its original French to get every scrap of Amy's nuance. But he didn't seem to want to think about that now that we were about to launch into the kinky bit of the story. I pointed the bug issue out to Bratbeard as a pretty blatant and obvious issue, and he didn't like that either and just decided to keep it in. I stood my ground and he reluctantly adjusted the story. He had 2 sessions with me and then mercifully disappeared, never to book anything with me again. TLDR, Beard wants me to help him achieve pinpoint accuracy on a pretty young female canon character in a fanfic, and then ignores most of my advice because it interferes with him writing his kink. See, he's not there to make, like, well-constructed stories. He's just there to write about his kink. And if that's the case, I mean, that's fine. You know what I mean? Go ahead and shit it up on your own time, but if you're paying somebody for, like, their professional analysis, then it's probably a good idea to at least take it into account. You can't just be like, no, the thing that I did is already perfect. I just pay you $15 an hour so you can tell me that it's perfect. Like, are you stupid? Or not even are you stupid, but how stupid are you? God, I absolutely love the fact that he asked you to watch the entire first season of this show. And then you're like, yeah, that's gonna cost money. He's like, actually, it's just these 3 episodes. What a maroon. Boy, it sounds like a mercy to me that he didn't book any more sessions. I still don't know what the freaking series they're referring to is, but it sounds like OP got a pretty good grasp on, you know, human nature and the like. And yeah, if the character's just walking around being a bitch the whole time, of course people are gonna not identify and want to see her get her comeuppance, which maybe was his point. I don't really know. I don't try to get into the mind of a beard because it's a scary place to be. But with that said, we'll jump into the last episode of TBOATI. And TBOATI is essentially what Bratbeard would be if it had gone on for more than 2 sessions. And apparently OP is still working with this person, which is the most amazing part to me. But we'll jump into the last event and just see how it goes. The beard of 1,000 irritations. It's all your fault. It always is, Beardo. It's never the Neckbeards' fault. It's everybody surrounding them. Hi, everyone, and welcome to part 8 of my experiences with the beard of 1,000 irritations, or TBOATI for short. If you found this part and want to start at the beginning, you can find part 1 here, and also all the other parts in the description if you want to watch them videos. TBOATI is a sci-fi fan, working on his own original world, and has been hiring me, a writing coach, to help him with his world-building development and get his story written and posted online. This has been pretty frustrating at times, and I'm just letting off steam by writing about this. I've changed a few details to protect both the innocent and the bearded. Thank you to ReddX for reading parts 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 5, and 6, 2, and 7. I read them all, and I loved them all. It was great to hear them immortalized. And as always, a big shout out right back to you, OP, because without your content, then I would have nothing to read, you know? Like I say, you put in the work, I put in the work. Anyways, here's our cast list. OP, a 30-something from Wales with an online writing coach business. The beard of 1,000 irritations, yes indeed, a customer of mine from mainland Europe. I've seen precisely 1 photo of him. He's very overweight, perhaps on the cusp of medical obesity. I have no idea whether he smells or what his self-care regime is, but whoo boy, He's got nice guy, neckbeardy vibes for sure. He does somehow manage to have a girlfriend though. We've got Emily, TBOATI's girlfriend, artist for his world, devout Christian who lives in the deep south of the US, reluctant to talk to anybody that she doesn't already know online, and has never responded to me with more than a sentence or two, if she answers at all. Jay is TBOATI's co-writer. TBOATI considers himself all but dependent on this guy to write the creative material for this project. Jay talks to me about as much as TBOATI's girlfriend does, despite my efforts to communicate with him as part of TBOATI's overall project. Sounds like a classic train wreck. This part is a follow-up to part number 4, the great girlfriend shaming. If you aren't familiar with that, I do recommend you give it a quick listen to give yourself some context for what all actually happened here. It's been a few months since the events of part 4. Since then, I've had a few clients who approached me to work with them on larger projects, sometimes with just that one person, sometimes with me working as a member of a team of 3 or more people. All of that has got me thinking about project management for written and artistic projects. I never really take a leadership role in these projects and maintain a position of consultant instead. That's easy enough with more mature clients who have worked in teams before, but some of my less mature clients hope that they can pull together a group of creative people, tell them what they want done, and expect that that will be enough to make their project happen. Alright, you 5 or 6 random different people from all around the internet and all around the world, you guys have the same creative vision as me, right? Alright, break! Let's do this thing! Oh god. Project management obviously takes much more than this. I'm pretty focused when I work, and I am happy to manage upwards on a project, and for clients who are used to teamwork, that presents no problem. Indeed, that is what they are paying me for, so they mostly want me to keep to the program and contribute all that I can, including experience. Managing upwards tends to confuse my less mature clients though. Enter TBOATI. As I've said before, he routinely gets other people to just make his content. Emily, his girlfriend, has drawn art for him in the past. He has at least 2 other one-off artists. Jay writes stories in his universe, and I help the team to generate more content. However, what TBOATI doesn't have is a place where we can all meet, ask each other questions about the project, generally get to know one another, and gel as a team, and all that other super important water cooler stuff. So I thought that TBOATI should probably make one, and decided to manage upwards by mentioning that idea to him. There was just one problem with the idea of encouraging the team to gel, and that was TBOATI's history of telling me and the 4 other people, presumably other members of the team, he never confirmed that, but it's my best guess as to who those 4 other people were, about his and Emily's sex life without Emily's consent. God. And I like how there's just 4 other anonymous people in this room, like, what the hell? Is TBOATI just like forming his own botnet or something like that? I don't know what's going on. You've never talked to these people? I have a lot of questions. We're not going to get into that right now. If Emily was invited to be a part of the team, and some of those people knew such intimate details about her life, I imagined it could be potentially pretty humiliating for her. I know I wouldn't want to find myself in that position. Alternatively, if TBOATI made a group but left her out of it, either with her knowledge or not, or even with her consent, then she would be less able to actively take part on the project. I thought she deserved better than that. Still, I'm not Emily at the end of the day, so it wasn't up to me to make a final decision about what was best for her. All that fell completely on her own shoulders. Self-determination and whatnot. I figured that the best thing to do in this situation was to approach TBOATI on Telegram, tell him about my ideas and my concerns about Emily's welfare, and just let him decide what he wanted to do. Well, readers, you know TBOATI by now, and of course this did not go as smoothly as it could have, or maybe even should have. I will say that I wasn't the one to suggest to him that he ask Emily what she wanted to do. He thought of that independently of me and said,
He'd ask her and then get back to me.
He also said that
Emily was over what happened with the distribution of her personal email, so she would probably be fine with it.
I had my doubts about that, but I was glad that TBOATI was going to ask her, so it almost looked like this situation was going to work out okay. Yeah, hope floats, man. A few moments later, he came back to me saying that
Emily was angry with me.
He relayed a message from her that I'd made assumptions about how she'd feel, and that I should stop because I didn't know her. During all of this, it came to light that he hadn't rephrased anything that I had said to him. He had copy-pasted my question to him directly to her, verbatim. I pointed out that I hadn't made an assumption, I had expressed a concern. I also pointed out that I didn't need to know her to guess that she would be embarrassed about her personal information being shared. Many people would feel the same way. TBOATI wasn't impressed with this, and asked why I had phrased my concerns in the way that I had. The way he asked me this had a very definite kicked puppy quality to it. I explained my reasons, and in hindsight, I wish I'd expressed the other issue that was on my mind. Why, bearing in mind that he knows her far better than I do, did he not rephrase my question in a way that she wouldn't find painful to read? But the hornets were already circling. It just didn't seem worth it kicking the nest again. He knew exactly what he was doing in that moment, okay? He's trying to drive that wedge real deep. Emily did contact me separately to tell me that TBOATI had indeed shared things with people that she hadn't wanted him to share, but claimed that he had exaggerated some of the things that he told me. Since she was so angry already, see above regarding hornets, I didn't point out that there had been no exaggeration. He had copied and pasted one of her emails for me to see. I saw what I saw. However, I figured that she was just trying to pretend that I shouldn't trust what I'd read, so I just let her have that without challenging it. She also said that she was still angry about what he'd done and they were still working through it. We had a couple more turns of the conversation so that she got the space to tell me the full extent to which I didn't know what I thought I knew. Yeah, okay. After she'd had her fill, I apologized for stepping on her toes over the situation, and I asked if there was anything I could do to repair our working relationship. She said no. I'm just surrounded by professionals over here. Oh, God. Since we were talking directly to each other instead of having TBOATI as a go-between, and this clearly was still an emotive issue, I decided to take the risk of asking her directly whether she thought a Telegram group was a good idea. She saw my message a few days ago, but hadn't answered that. And that, to me, is all the confirmation I need that she doesn't want there to be a group. TBOATI hasn't gotten back to me either, and I suspect he's still angry with me for bringing up the email situation. I'll see where things go from here. Emily's clearly still hurting, and really, TBOATI needs to step up and lead properly, and I sincerely hope that he'll think about all of this and what it means about oversharing in the future. TLDR, I asked a Neckbeard/niceguy what he thinks about starting a group for his project. His oversharing about his girlfriend has been an issue, and he blames me for not tailoring the conversations so that he didn't have to reword anything. TBOATI's laziness knows no bounds. Edit. I've been linking to the next part of this series at the bottom of each part, but we are up to date for the time being. I will update this if and when I write more parts, and until then, Thank you for reading. And so TBOATI leaves us for now, with not a bang, but a whimper. And it's pretty obvious because he's just been whimpering the entire time we've been here. Mostly what draws me in about this OP is her writing insight, and she really is a skilled writer. Like, you feel the frustration dripping throughout each segment of this story. I'm gonna have a little think on whether or not I should like get this up into a compilation. Let me know if you guys think that's a good idea in the comments, or if we should like wait for some more parts or something like that. I would be exceedingly interested in that, and of course happy to deliver on whatever you guys would like. I've said quite a few times throughout this story that TBOATI just seems like such a frustrating person to work around, and I don't know if any amount of money is actually worth it. That is absolutely insane. Dude really thinks he's playing 4D chess when really it's like playing checkers with a chicken. They just knock the board all over and shit all over everything, and then they still strut around like they won, which is the most infuriating part of all. I honestly think that Emily is smart enough to see through it and eventually just pack her stuff and leave, but I don't know, man. She doesn't seem like the most level-headed person necessarily, so I guess time will tell. From what we've heard of her through these stories, I mean, she's kind of weird. Maybe her and TBOATI just belong together across the sea, because that's the only way this relationship is gonna work. Otherwise, they're just gonna live in a big old neckbeard nest and, you know, have 5 kids and lose track of them and all the garbage. Who hasn't been there before, though? Oh, Lord. And now we reach the part that we've probably all been to before, and that is the part where I ask you, friend, to please like, comment, and or subscribe on this video if you haven't already. The comment can be anything. You can just say, hi ReddX, or poop balls, and I'll be like, cool, heart. Thank you for helping me increase my ranking within the algorithm or something like that. You might also share the video around if you did find it helpful in some way. I know y'all up on those social medias, so I do appreciate it. I'm also up on the social medias, as a matter of fact. We got the Twitter, we got the Discord, we got the Facebook, oh, and my gorgeous, wonderful, beautiful, generous patrons, yes! I'd like to thank them all, but especially ZeroMMX, Lady Nix, Robert Waits, Pope Squid, Cider Drinker, Tato Ferret, The Last Shinobi, Mark 211, Aaron W, Mitch, John Hero, Candy Sora, Phi Drake, Little Lone Wolf, Miss Monday, Silent Revolver, JM Coon, Leon Embers, TSM Kirby, Redwind, Synaptic Boomstick, Jerry, Staples, Yeet, Cake Jerry, that's a different Jerry. My boy Nat One Nick, Brilliant Tamago, That Big Delicious Jelly Donut, Liverson, James Cook, Big Papa Jesus, Aaron Lennox, Serrated Ash, Zuka Cervantes, and a new friend joining us today, John Indoors. What a coinky dink, because your last name is like my favorite place to be. Indoors. Making YouTube videos for you lovely people. Sometimes those videos do get demonetized, and it's really nice to have the patrons. I can lean back on them when that stuff happens and not sweat it too hard. So if you can join these lovely people in supporting, that is absolutely massive. But if you can't right now, don't sweat it too hard, friends. I just appreciate you coming on through, hanging out with me, and I hope that you'll come on back and hang out with me again tomorrow. Because really, the views is how my beard stays buttered. In order to do so, you'll need to keep yourself safe out there, wash your hands, but also take some time out and do something that you personally enjoy today. Maybe watching some more ReddX videos. Yeah! Always remember, friends, always remember that you are loved, you are worthy, and you definitely deserve it. I will see you in the next one. And until then, bye-bye.